Hey everybody, this is Abby from Realistic Kitchen and Gardens. Today is Thursday, August 8th. We are just about 2 months before the first frost, which my estimated date is October 10th or 5th or something along those lines. Southern Zanesville, Ohio, Zone 6A garden. Let's get rolling. Mowed the paths yesterday for y'all. It was finally cool enough to actually mow, not exactly for y'all. It was getting quite long, and it's tick season. I keep finding those itty bitty nymphy ticks. Here is Lincoln shelling pea. These feel a little stunted to me, and you'll see why when we go over to surge, but these have been in for must be at least a month. You would think I would have remembered this already since I just logged all my stuff, but they're coming up, they're getting there. They'll be about 2 feet tall. I actually moved the carrot boards onto this row, so these are sections. So this one section is going to be for Brussels sprouts, one of the 2 Brussels sprouts. This middle section, which is what it looks like without the carrot boards on it. So you see why I put the carrot boards on, to try to stunt the weeds coming up, the grass coming up. And then the stake got knocked down, but it's right there. And this last section will be for the other set of brassicas or Brussels sprouts when I put them in. Now here's Surge. These are from, the seeds are from a company that I started. I got a batch of seeds from I think it was fall. I hadn't used them before, and most of their seeds are coated, which I don't usually do. Sometimes they're covered in almost like a pelleted seed, like a protection to keep them hydrated while they're germinating, that kind of thing. But this had a product on it called Cruiser, which I thought was just a pest thing. Not that I think of peas as having a lot of pests, but all right. But this Surge even has a flower on it. This is super early. They're supposed to be 70 days. And I think we're only a month, maybe a month and a half in. I'm gonna have to check my dates, but they are basically full height. I mean, these are probably 8-inch squares. So they're basically full grown. So I don't know if Lincoln is dwarfed or what. But I finally got this row tilled. This will be for the other set of brassicas that go in. It'll be, so this one is Brussels sprouts and cabbages. This will be one of the other kale, green kale, cauliflower. I can't remember what else I have in there. I have a ton of brassicas going. Beans. These are Veller bush beans. These, I've been loving these plants. The beans themselves are really nice and snappy, but they have a good flavor. They're really beautiful on the plant. I think the plants are quite ornamental personally. The plants are nice and small and upright. The leaves are small, which make the beans look bigger, so you have to kind of get your hand in there for comparison size to make sure they're big enough for what you want. But I have had an issue where if the plants get too heavy, like this one, if the plants get too heavy, they can't actually snap down here at the base. Like this one could snap right here. There's a bit of a fusion of where the plant first split when it was young. So unfortunately these plants are a bit fragile compared to some other plants I've grown. But this is the older set that was seeded, I think in May. And then this one was in June. No, that can't be right. I was doing records yesterday. The hailstorm we had was on June 15th. So these were seeded probably like June 18th, and these were seeded about 3 weeks later. So there. I mean, they're only a 55-day variety, so I really can't be that surprised. But these things are bonkers prolific. I've been loving this variety. But next year I'm definitely doing pole beans. Mostly because I haven't done pole beans before en masse. So I want to give it a try. And then these are pinto beans and chickpeas. Pinto beans, which are going to be harvested for dry beans. Both of these are dry beans. Obviously chickpeas. And then here are the chickpeas that I actually seeded from, ooh, look at that. There you go. I actually seeded these from, that's neat. These hadn't popped open before, but this is pretty solid. It's not moist or anything. It could very well go right in the storage pot. But that's how chickpeas grow. They grow in a little pod on top, and I know they're usually only 1 or 2 chickpeas per pod, so to get a decent volume, you do need a decent number of plants. But I more was doing it for an experiment to see if it was actually worth doing, because I didn't really have any other beans I wanted to grow. But basically for the pintos, we'll wait until these are rattling around. I know you can't hear it, but these are loose and rattling around. The pod is dry. I could probably harvest this for the dry beans, but I'm going to leave it a bit longer. Mostly because I don't want a random pod or 2 hanging out, but that's what we got. And then this next row is not fallow per se, but there's nothing actually in it, except a dill that finally came up. But the rest is covered. I seeded a cover crop. I think the birds might have eaten most of it. Look at that, a cabbages. So this is the stump of one of the brassicas I seeded out, and it's regrowing. I doubt it would do any decent head. This one is too. This is either Amaro or Primero, but they're doing... Oh, brassicas make me laugh. Here's some hairy vetch, which is part of the cover crop. But I don't see any more of the cover crop bits. The rest of this is like violets. Don't mind me, just covered in grass. I don't know what else. Here is, this is a good example of why you want to cover your brassicas. So at first glance, this plant is beautiful. It is quite beautiful. This is Purple Moon Kale. Started this in the spring with these brassicas that are long gone, and transplanted out, and I never harvested from it. We're just not big kale people in the summer, so I don't think I'll bother growing it in the summer. But it obviously got too tall. I mean, this is almost chest height on me. But it's now getting absolutely shredded and eaten alive by, you know, the usual suspects. Probably either cabbage loopers or, I think the other big one is army worms. But I mean, this was a beautiful plant last week, and look what it is now. That's why I always cover my brassicas when I have them outside, because this can happen in a matter of, I think the life cycle of the worms is something like probably 2 or 3 weeks, and then they're voracious and eating everything. The rest of this is just things that have come back up because I haven't weeded. I wanted to do a cover crop, but I guess I'm going to have to either till it out and reseed the cover crop, or just cover it and let it go fallow underneath, which I'm not opposed to either. I've done that before. It's not that bad. But anyway, catnip. which has all these lovely pollinators on it. I mean, I have cats indoors too. It certainly wouldn't hurt for me to bring some in, but I purposely planted it for the pollinators. It's still pretty early in the morning, so there's not too many out here. But there's all these teeny tiny pollinators, more than this bee. And even then, this bee is pretty small in comparison to what some of them are. Mrs. Burns' lemon basil. I haven't really harvested from this plant. It's just so far away from the kitchen, comparatively. I think it's a lovely ornamental. I will grow it next year. I say this every time, but I'm going to grow it as companions to tomatoes and peppers, like it is now, but it's right next to a small gold calendar. This is all grass on here from me mowing last night. I didn't put the bag on and it just shot stuff everywhere. So itty bitty plant, itty bitty pepper. I don't know what these guys want. They're probably in compacted soil, so it's just kind of, they're just doing what they can, like the rest of us. Join the club. There's a fruit. I think this is a gold cal still. Most of my tags got ruined in the hailstorm and I never replaced them, so there's a gold cal ripening. This is one of the original ones I showed y'all for the sun scald. The fruit is still edible as long as it doesn't get too rotten. Oh, that's weird. So there's supposed to be 8 gold cal. I have it backwards. The gold calendars are this side, and then the regular calendars, the red that ripen to red, are on this side. Sorry, it's still early. Because I was looking at this plant and I'm like, why is that pepper gold too? Because that's how it is. Emerald Towers basil. I harvested for some dried basil. Early jalapeno. Pretty decently loaded for the size plant. I only grew one plant on purpose because I don't need that many jalapenos. We're not high heat type of people. And then this is Thai Moon and Vesuvius Thai chili, which I apparently grew red this year. I thought I grew purple, but here I am. And then the 2 sweet banana peppers, which are well loaded. I have to say, my only qualm with this is how difficult it is to tell when these are ripe, because the fruit begin like that chartreuse color, and then when they're ripe they're a yellow, but it's like, where is the line? And then here is Better Bush. These are replacement plants that I got for Hungarian Heart. These fruits are nice and big. They must be at least 4 ounces each. I pulled one in yesterday that was certainly 6 ounces, if I remember correctly. So there's 2 plants. These are determinates. And they both flopped over because the weight of the fruit. Finissimo Verde Apaya basil, which is just a small bush basil. It's okay. It's not fragrant enough. Probably won't grow again, to be honest. I'd rather grow an Emerald Towers or something like that. Here's another 2. Better Bush. There's one, and then here's the other one. They're kind of close together. There's one ripening in here. And there's actually flowers on this. So indeterminates will continue to flower. It's not exactly how people say that they'll flower all at once, fruit all at once, and then be done all at once. It's just that the plants are a lot smaller and more efficient of space. Here's the one Hungarian Heart plant I have with its very few fruit. And unfortunately, I found an armyworm on this thing yesterday. I knew something was eating fruits, which is a bummer because I really wanted to see how big this was. Because these are supposed to be, it's an indeterminate ox heart type. And They're supposed to be a beautiful slicing fruit. But I think I've gotten one fruit, and even then it was just to weigh it, because the same thing happened, and that one actually is having the same thing happen, the other fruit. So I may try to do a better trial of Hungarian heart next year. The hailstorm really did a number on these plants for some reason. They're either more fragile or what, but wah-wah. And then there's actually 2 plants in here, not that you can really see them, but these are the 2 replacement plants in here. There were 6 Hungarian hearts originally, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I added one more better boy or better bush, because I have the starts. But these are the classic Roma, which are also determinate in getting eaten alive by something. But these are the ones that had those nice oblong fruits. I bought seeds last year that are a variety called Zenzi, Z-E-N-Z, I think I-E or E-I. The fruits remind me of those. So I think they're indeterminate though, so we'll see what I do next year. I'm still waiting for a final harvest to decide what I do. Here's Bartelli, loving life, doing the usual cherry tomato thing of taking over the world. My husband's been loving these fruits, just popping them in his mouth and eating them, which is why I grew them. I don't really do cherry tomatoes for basically anything, so that works. Cor de Boux, this plant has, I think, like 4 fruits on it. Nothing over here, but there's obviously that one, and then there's 2 down on the ground and 1 here. I like Cor de Boux in a way, but it's kind of like very wrinkly. I mean, obviously it has the folds on purpose. It's an aesthetic thing that they're bred for, but I don't know if I like it in a paste tomato, or a tomato in general. It's just places where dirt and bugs and things can go. Here's another better bush, also with some nice big fruits just starting to turn. You have blossom end rot. I just felt it, so we'll just tear you off. Send you to the abyss. That one doesn't. Blossom end rot is an inconsistency in watering and causes poor uptake of calcium. Adding calcium doesn't help. You have to keep the water even, which I haven't been doing because my spigot is up there on the house. New rain barrel situation, but still haven't been watering these because I have no excuse other than it's been so blasted hot. Here's another Cor de Boux, another one ripening. Hungarian heart is definitely the slowest to ripen, from flower to fruit to full ripe fruit. Cor de Boux is pretty decent. Bartelli is certainly the fastest. Better bush is probably in between. It's probably right around the speed of Cor de Boux, and these determinates are one of the fastest. So I like the determinates. I wish the fruits were bigger. I don't know if that's me or if it's the variety or what, but assuming I get a decent enough harvest of tomatoes from determinates and things, I'll probably grow more determinates. I just like the growth habit better. I would do, so instead of doing this trellis with determinates, because this is 2 feet off the ground, which obviously hasn't worked that well for these tomatoes. For determinates, these short little guys, I would probably do those, that's 3 panels, and they're together with a loop on the top. I have pieces that don't have the loop. I've separated them to 1 panel, and I would do 4 panels right around this, kind of tied together so it's a cage, and I would let them grow in that cage so that it supports them a lot better so that they don't need to be staked and haphazardly flopping all over the place. Potatoes, doing nothing. I mean, it's been so blasted hot, I'm not expecting them to do anything. It was kind of a random hope and a prayer. I stuck in some very long in the tooth sprouting seed potatoes in along this whole row just as a last ditch effort to see if I could get any, but I haven't seen any, so there. Are you a real ladybug, or are you one of those Asian lady beetles that inhabit my house? Because if you're that, you should go to hell. Rio Grande Verde Tomatillo has a bunch of these. I call them lanterns. They're not full yet. They've probably just been pollinated a week or two ago. There's a little bit of fruit in there. But when they're really ready, they'll be full and the thing will burst. So this is getting a good second flush. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Here's one that will make sense visually. So this is fully full. It's to capacity, and when it's ripe it usually busts open the husk, and the husk will be a bit dry. They're in the ground cherry family, but I think of them as tomatoes. I treat them like tomatoes. What's useful in here? These are the sweet pea pods. They are not edible. They're just flowering plants that I planted eons ago, and they're just taking up all the room. I don't know if I'd grow these again, or if I need to start them earlier, or if they had a nutritional issue, but these are supposed to be in with my celeries. So there's a brilliant celeriac right here. So pitiful, such a bad year for celeriac. There's another one here, celery root. Third celery root. And then this is Utah tall celery, which is more of a stalk type celery. But I think I'm purposely going to let these go to seed, because apparently finding celery seed is really hard now, because no one uses celery seed anymore. I don't know why, but here we are. And then here's the other half of the row that was carrots. I also planted a cover crop here, but there's so much grass in here that the one shallot that survived transplanting, seeded in February and transplanted, I think, finally in May. And it's doing that, so I'll take what I get. And then there was one, here it is. Here's one bandit leek. So we'll see how that does too. Spineless zucchini times 3. New female flowers, it looks like. Yep, there's the body of it. And then there's probably, why do you go in the corner? It's like every creature ever. You want something to do something and it shoves itself in the corner to be inconvenient. Just harvested another one yesterday. So these have been doing pretty well. I'm not inundated by any means. The 3 plants are pretty good. These are supposed to be 43-day direct sow to harvest. I don't know if it's quite that fast, but they're pretty fast, but they're not, and they're also directly in my clay. So I do actually like these plants. They're nice and small. They've been really hardy. I'm pretty happy with them. I'll grow those again next year. And then Summer Dance slicer cucumber. This is the youngest seeding that was right before the hailstorm, something like June 13th or something like that. So there's one, and then this is supposed to be one, but both germinated and I kept both of them there. I really should pull one out, but they're doing equally well, so it's fine. And they actually have a little fruit on, which I should really just pull off and let it grow a straight one. Actually, there's another one here. Didn't even see it way down there. I should really fertilize some of my stuff. And then here's the second seeding of summer dance. I did 3 succession seedings of summer dance so that I would have long slicer cucumbers almost constantly because I love a cucumber. But here's the second one, so middle-aged one. And then only one of the transplants survived, and it's still fruiting. Like, this is the one original plant down here, and it has side shoot, and this is the main shoot. And this is actually a type of greenhouse. It's like this specific variety is oriented towards greenhouse growing, which apparently I'm simulating enough. Don't know if this is a disease or what, but it's not affecting any other cucumbers, and it's not affecting the fruit. So here we are, because that's that thing's fruit. Max Pack pickling. Here's the stake. Max Pack pickling. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all seeded at the same time right after. I think it was maybe it's these two, 1, 2 that were seeded, and then these 2 were seeded right after the storm. So these are actually the youngest, and they're the same age. This one just isn't. I call them cursed spots, but there was a discussion last week, or a comment last week, about how it's probably compaction or something like that. Yeah, it's my plain clay soil. It's fine. A lot of this, knock on wood, a lot of this garden is doing a lot better than I expected it to do, because I kind of tore out the grass, tilled in rows, and stuck plants in. And the only rows I've amended are that one with sand and that one with a little sand, and everything else is just the Ohio clay. So it's, you know, you take what you get. And then these are the oldest three Max Pack that were transplanted. They were started indoors in April and transplanted out. I have a fly landing on me. And transplanted out in May. So, I mean, these plants are what, 3 months old now and still fruiting, doing great. I will definitely be starting cucumbers indoors again this coming year for 2025. It worked really well for gourds and for cucumbers. The zucchini was directly sown the same day I transplanted all these. And then Regal pickling cuke. Not my favorite variety, not doing that well. That's the one original plant left that was seeded indoors and transplanted. And then these are all direct sown from right after the storm in June, because it killed all the seedlings that were currently out here at the time. I think they have fruited already, but I just don't really love the variety. They get bitter very, very easily with any kind of shortage of water, which in my garden is all the time because I don't haul water that much. And then orange gin okra. First year really growing okra, and I'm really enjoying it. Will you get off me, insect? This is a seed pod that I left to harvest seeds from. It's an open pollinated variety of okra, so I can harvest the seeds and get a true to type youngling from it. Here's an okra pod that you would eat, and these are the flowers that haven't opened yet. That's the middle-aged plant, and here's the oldest plant. So here's another big seed pod that I'm leaving to harvest seeds from. Here's a pod that you would eat probably tomorrow. Here's the flower. Okra is in the hibiscus family, so their flowers usually look very similar. And then here are the seed flower heads, and all this crap on them is actually aphids. I just saw an ant on here too. It's right at the base of this flower. Surprisingly, it's not affecting the plant that badly. I haven't really gone after them. I have 2 fruiting plants. I'm not gonna break my neck over pulling off the aphids and all that. It's still flowering, it's still fruiting, and it's not across all the plants and all that. These side shoots are starting to flower too. There's one that's at the base, and then here's another one just further up. So they're still fruiting. It's not an issue per se. And then here's the most recent one. There's actually two plants here. I really need to pull one out. This is the smaller one. Just break that off down there. Pull that out, because that's just going to take up resources that one can use. So now there's only one. This was seeded, I believe, right after the hailstorm, because this one got beat up pretty badly by the hailstorm, and it rebounded very nicely after the storm. So orange jing okra will grow again, but I may also try either candle fire, which is about the same color but a bit faster, or red burgundy, which I think is a larger variety. So we'll see. This bit of chaos right here is 2 to 4 plants of climbing honey nut squash from Renee's seeds. I'm not going to touch anything because there's always a ton of bees in here because the flowers open in the morning for whatever reason. But there is a fruit. That's the average size. They're allegedly up to 2 pounds, which, yeah, I could see. I mean, some of them are small. There's one real small one in there. One of the very first ones is right there. You can see the little bit of orange on it. That thing's probably only yay big. So very different sizes. I miss my cattle panel trellis. I'll admit it. I didn't think I'd miss it. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal, but I miss my cattle panel trellis. I'm doing it again next year. Because 3 or 4 of these varieties would have done excellently on it. Climbing honey nut would have done great. I mean, the root is right around here somewhere, and there's tails of it that are all the way out there. I mean, that's easily 6 feet away to the edge of that cardboard. Little ladybirds cosmos, supposed to average 3 feet tall, which I think is where it's at currently. It comes in these yellows, oranges, and reds. There's some reddish examples down further. Giant orange marigold and giant yellow marigold. I think these ones are from Johnny's. The ladybirds are from the same place as the honey nut. It's either Annie's or Renee's. I'll have to look at it. But I mean, this is actually the acorn squash. If you look at the shape of the leaves, you can tell the different shape. But these things are climbing all over each other to produce more fruit. There's another female flower. That's a female flower, not open yet. And the flower right in front of us is also a female flower. And there's another fruit that's pollinated. So prolific, which is kind of the goal. Another ladybirds in this lovely orange. This is a red clover. It's a volunteer. But this is night shift acorn squash, which is supposed to be a very, very dark green, very good storage variety of acorn squash. There's actually a fruit right here underneath all the grass and shit. Not that I'm going to dig it out. I'm going to leave it there. But these have done really, really well. I would grow these again. Another good contender for the cattle panel trellis. That is either a night shift acorn, or it's the sweet nut acorn variety that has done so poorly. It's supposed to be a variety that, maybe it's this. This is the sweet nut acorn. This is supposed to be, I think, a little more on the bushy side than the true like vining side like that. But these are supposed to be an acorn squash variety that excels in having pepita seeds, like the hull-less pumpkin seeds. So it's supposed to be kind of a dual purpose fruit, which I really like. I mean, I'll eat the seeds anyway, but more ladybirds, this dandelion yellow, and then there's these lovelies that I showed on the page last night. I guess this is as red as I'm going to see. I think all of the varieties I have, or all the ones I have, are open already. I'll definitely plant more of them next year. I've been loving them. They have a much more feathery foliage than the traditional Cosmo. Usually they're a bit more like ferny looking. These have a bit more bite to their leaf. Another giant orange marigold. Here is a Lady Godiva squash. I think that's the third largest. It's definitely been putting on a lot of fruit. So Lady Godiva is technically a squash, technically a pumpkin, however you want to classify it. But it's supposed to do pepita seeds also. So I have 3 of those. Here's the stem of one of them. There was a fruit behind that marigold. This is the third variety I have in mind that would do really, really well on that cattle panel trellis. Second plant starts here, and then here's the third one with the root. But here's the largest Lady Godiva, and here actually is where the first watermelon, excuse me, was originally. I originally transplanted 4 of them. This one got killed off in the storm, so I reseeded it. And surprisingly, it's growing well. I didn't expect it to grow that well because how shaded it would be from Lady Godiva, but whatever. There's another pumpkin, or Lady Godiva. And then here's the first of the few. There's 3 watermelon plants. They're Cal Wonderbush, which I've really been enjoying as a watermelon plant. They're nice and short and scrubby. They're not really needy either. They're nice. There's one fruit. I'm gonna be careful because there's a bee right in front of my face, right there. But there's one of them. The second one's right here. This is the oldest one. They're supposed to get up to 12 pounds, but I don't know if mine will get there. Again, they're planted in clay, so I kind of get what I get. There's another Lady Godiva. And then here's the last fruiting watermelon of them. The watermelon is a 90-day variety, and these were started in April, like the gourds and the original cucumbers, and they were transplanted at the same time as all the gourds. So I don't know if they're just very slow growing because of my area or what, but I take what I get. There's another watermelon directly sown. There it is. There's the other one. And then there's the third one in here. These were all direct sown in May, and they're obviously not doing well. I'm obviously not keeping them weeded either. And then this was where the lettuce was originally, and now we have fennel, bulb fennel. So this is dragon hybrid fennel. Again, it's a bulb fennel. We use it as like a root vegetable, basically. It's very sweet when it's roasted. Rots kind of that anisey, licoricey kind of flavor. But my husband and I love it with pork. They're doing quite nicely. I used the carrot boards to get them to germinate since they're technically in the carrot family. So they like it cool and damp. Won't use the M word. I know a lot of people hate that word. I don't particularly care. And then this is the last section. It's a little messy because of the grass cutting last night. Bolero carrots. There's 4 little tracks of them, rows, in this one row. But they're actually starting to put out their true leaves. I haven't thinned them yet. I should probably get the leaf blower and blow off some of this refuse grass. It'll dry up eventually. But all these carrots, there's a lot of carrots. I seeded over 350, but like there's this baby grass coming up, and then right next to it is a little teeny tiny carrot. This is a good time to wait to weed because you can see the difference. There's two right next to each other actually. There's grass under my thumb right here, and this is a carrot. So it can be a little tough. You do need to keep carrots weeded. I'll try. I'll try to keep my carrots weeded this time. The spring batch of carrots did not go well. I didn't weed them, and I actually grew them too close to the grass, so that was my fault. Here's one of the biggest carrots, I think, so far. And then here is a nice smattering of dill, Thalia dill, that has germinated very nicely. This was tucked under the carrot board too. Again, carrot family, so I kind of treated them all the same. Oh, I wanted to point these out. These are just like a little tiny cup mushroom fungus type of thing. It's not going to hurt you. Don't eat it. Wash your hands. Don't go crazy about it. It's just another form of mushroom. This swath was supposed to be parsnips, but I put those in before I put in had my carrot boards. So I did try doing pelleted seed with the parsnips, but it was like the rest of the summer. It was in the 90s, it was dry, it was really hot, they didn't germinate. So I just covered it up so I don't have half a row of weeds being ugly. And it gives more room for these things to keep growing. So it works out. But that's right about it. I did actually start, you can't see it, but there's the rain barrels. There's the rain barrels next to the house. And right in front of it is a low tunnel that has all my brassicas in it to transplant out. I finally started hardening them off yesterday because I think tomorrow is supposed to be the last real hot day in the high 80s. And then it's going to be the low 80s, and the nighttime temps are going to drop into the 50s and 60s. So hopefully my brassicas won't go to flower before they're even in the ground. Can't promise anything, but anyway, if you like this kind of stuff, please like, comment, subscribe, and follow along for more at Realistic Kitchen and Gardens on Facebook. Daily posts, multiple posts. Sometimes that's where I show things first. I wanted to show you, there was something else I thought of. Nope, it must have been the shelling peas. I was gonna say, I haven't even shown anyone the shelling peas yet except for this video, so you guys get first look today instead of Facebook. So anyway, that's all for now. Thanks, bye.